Hello and welcome to The Ticket, the podcast where we explore the cutting edge of customer service and support. I'm Fred Walton, conversation designer here at Intercom. AI continues to transform the customer service landscape. New roles and responsibilities are emerging to enhance the human-AI partnership. In this episode of The Ticket, we're delving into the vital role of a knowledge manager in the AI-first world. Joining us today is Beth-Ann Sher, senior knowledge manager here at Intercom. Beth brings a wealth of experience from her past roles as a product marketing manager at Hoofpick and Connect Childcare to her current position where she ensures the knowledge base is robust and AI ready. Beth, welcome to the show.
Hey Fred, thanks for having me.
That's fine. Really interested to talk to you today, and I've got a few questions for you, if that's all right.
Yeah, let's get stuck in.
Can you share your journey from being a product marketing manager to becoming a senior knowledge manager at Intercom? What drew you to this role, and what sort of steps did you take throughout your career to get to where you are?
Well, my career journey actually started in customer support on the front lines of a call center in Leicester. That role taught me a lot about customer relationships and the range of emotions you'll handle, from excitement and gratitude to discontent and frustration. Where I've always excelled best is in the written word. Communicating effectively with customers over chat and email was so much easier because it gives me time to craft those more thoughtful responses which carefully address customers' questions and concerns. So I got into product marketing because I wanted to lean more into that written communication and content creation. The companies that I worked for were the small, hands-on type where I needed to wear several hats a day, and one of those was writing up help content for their help center. I guess this is where I saw my interests and skills coming together nicely, because I was able to provide self-serve support through my writing, the best of both worlds, basically. So when I started at Intercom a couple of years ago now, it was as a help center manager. However, with the advent of AI and using a range of support content to power our AI agent Finn, we quickly saw a need to manage our support content more holistically. Several content types were emerging to document knowledge in snippets, articles, PDFs, and public URLs to feed the AI agent. And so the knowledge manager was born to try and encompass all of this.
Very interesting. Thanks for the insight there, Beth. So what does a typical day look like for you as a knowledge manager at Intercom? How do you prioritize your tasks, and what are the general responsibilities?
So now that we've seen how effectively Finn can resolve customer queries using our support content, our knowledge base has grown dramatically to handle more and more types of questions customers have. From getting started to best practices and troubleshooting, Finn has to deal with a lot. Not only do we have more articles, the actual word count in our help center has almost doubled in the last year. Content is continuously added and improved as we learn from Finn's conversations. So this is definitely not a one-man band anymore. I work with 13 customer service agents who have dedicated time out of the inbox and handling queries to update and improve our support content. This includes both internal content the team uses in their day-to-day and our customer-facing content. We call this team our knowledge specialty, and they're amazing. So every Monday, I'll set them up with our key focus for the week. This often involves actioning back office tickets, which anyone in the org can submit when they need a piece of knowledge creating or updating. It includes macros, snippets, and internal and public articles. They'll also help with large-scale audits. For example, when we redesign a core feature or area of the product, this results in a lot of screenshots and navigational instructions which need updating. I'll get them set up with a tracking sheet to kick off the project, and they'll chip away at the content throughout the week. More regular work includes reviewing content which hasn't been updated in the last 6 months to ensure it's still accurate, and also adding new knowledge. For example, when there's something we didn't have documented, which turns out to be expected product behavior, they'll add this to our content so that customers are also aware. I really love working with this group because they're so close to customers. They know exactly what kinds of questions and pain points customers have, and this helps me understand what content needs to be prioritized. They can also see the benefit of having well-documented knowledge. This is twofold because it directly impacts the amount of inbound volume they deal with and makes their jobs easier by having great internal resources to hand when supporting customers in the inbox. So there's a real incentive for them to make sure our content is well looked after. Plus, they know the product inside and out, so who better to ensure the accuracy of the support content? Yeah, big shout out to them.
Huge kudos to the team.
Yes, yeah. And having the knowledge specialty take care of the regular maintenance, if you will, then frees me up to work really closely with product managers before we release a new feature. Not only does this involve obviously writing new articles, but since we use Intercom for customer service ourselves, we're often our first beta testers. As a core user of the new Knowledge Hub and Fin AI Copilot, for example, I provided a lot of early feedback to the product teams on what was working or not working for us. These insights turn into those small iterations and help us launch new features successfully. Part of a new product release is also about staying really aligned with product marketing managers on messaging and key launch dates. So leading up to a release, I'll have weekly syncs with them to make sure the new support content I'm creating is what they're expecting. And I'll share the new article URLs with them so they can link to them from their outbound campaigns. I recently collaborated with them on 3 new proactive support guides we wanted to share with customers during their onboarding. So they'd identified some of the issues customers were having, and I was able to help address these with detailed guides we now link to from the product onboarding page to make the customer journey a bit smoother. But like all that I've listed is basically what we call business as usual at Intercom. There's this whole other strategic part to being a knowledge manager. I get to create our vision, how we want to maintain, improve, and create new knowledge in the future so that we can provide customers with better and better self-serve support and what that's going to look like. So using AI has opened up a world of possibilities for managing knowledge, from automatically filling content gaps to extracting insights on how that content is performing without needing to do a whole manual analysis of hundreds of conversations. There's so much to explore here and loads of new tools being built both inside and outside of Intercom that I'm keen to try. So a fair chunk of my time is spent on continuously improving how we manage knowledge here at Intercom and bringing that vision to life.
Excellent. Thanks, Beth. The next question, how has the integration of AI into customer service at Intercom reshaped your role as a knowledge manager? Can you give me an example of how AI has influenced your daily work?
Yeah, so I touched on this a bit earlier. It's really brought new life to this role because AI is totally dependent on knowledge and data. You can have the best large language models in the world, and if they don't have a database to draw from, they won't be able to show you much. We realized this at Intercom when we built Fin to use support content, and suddenly everyone's eyes were on that content. This brought my role closer to teams all over the org and all the way up to senior leadership who wanted to know how Fin was performing and how it could perform even better. AI has meant being a knowledge manager can now have a serious and quantifiable impact on inbound volume and support costs. I think this hits home for many support leaders and business owners. So get used to chatting to your boss's boss. Getting more into the weeds, though, we used to measure content effectiveness through viewership, satisfaction ratings, and conversations started from a piece of content. That used to give us some idea of the number of conversations that were potentially deflected through self-serve support. But now, using our AI agent at Intercom, we can measure true resolutions. This is so much more valuable than deflection because we actually know when a customer got the information they needed and didn't just give up and disappear. So besides adding value to my role, AI has also made my role easier by having better metrics available.
Now, Beth, you mentioned earlier about how having a great team has helped shape the knowledge content area that you work in. And obviously having high quality support content is crucial for AI bots. How do you ensure that the content in the help center is always up to date and accurate? And also, what processes do you have in place for monitoring this and also updating the content that's there?
Yes, this definitely comes back to that work that the knowledge specialty do. I'll go into a bit more of the nitty-gritty details if you like. So, stale content is no longer ignored and left to gather dust somewhere. Content reviews are factored in every month to check for accuracy. We'll filter our support content by when it was last edited and read through anything that hasn't been updated in the last 6 months. We also encourage everyone, not just our support team, to submit knowledge improvements when they spot them. This can be anything from out-of-date screenshots to inaccurate information or new content suggestions. They do this by creating a back office ticket in Intercom, and the specialty has a target to action these requests within 7 days. We also always check when content could be impacted by product releases. Content is most likely to become out of date when something new ships, and that changes the way you use the product or service. At Intercom, we've got really strong buy-in for knowledge management from product teams, and this has been so helpful. Before a product manager ships anything, they'll make sure it's well documented and doesn't conflict with any of our existing support content. So three main things: systematically reviewing content on a regular basis, encouraging people to submit improvements or updates as they see them, and actually making this really easy for them to do, and making sure you're aware of which content is impacted when you ship a new feature or a product change.
So what kind of data or insights do you gather from AI tools to improve the knowledge base? Can you share what specific metrics you look into or KPIs that you focus on?
Well, we've started using the Fin AI Agent Optimize feature to look at which topic areas Fin is struggling with and where the content can be improved. So this clusters customer questions which were abandoned or routed to the team into AI-generated topics. You can then dive into the conversations and see related content Fin used to try and answer. For example, just recently this flagged that we were getting a lot of inbound volume from customers about changing their data hosting region. And looking at the related content, I saw that we didn't really go into any specific details about how they do this. Adding this knowledge to an article means that Fin is now able to explain how this process works, and we're no longer seeing this topic being routed to the team. But I think more importantly, our eyes are always on Fin's overall resolution rate. 90% is our target now. Hey, Fred? Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
But the fact that we can even reach for 50% was unimaginable a couple of years ago. So we track this weekly to monitor any increases, but especially any drops. So we can quickly identify what was the cause. Sometimes it's due to a workflow change. And I remember once it was because of an audience rule we'd accidentally applied to a big chunk of our content, which meant that Fin couldn't use it. So this is what pushed us to track resolution rate week on week and isolate problems early. If you leave it for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, several workflow or knowledge updates might have happened, and it's so much harder to identify the cause and fix it.
In the context of AI creating new roles, how would you see the role of knowledge manager evolving in the next few years? What new skills or areas of expertise do you think will become important to the role?
I think as AI rapidly advances, things like identifying inaccurate knowledge or gaps will become largely automated. A knowledge manager won't need to do a lot of manual reviewing of conversations and heavy lifting to make sure their content is comprehensive and up to date. We'll have AI insights into conversation trends and topics, what's driving volume, and where customers are not getting those resolutions will become clearer. AI will be able to instantly review thousands of conversations on a regular basis to help us identify those inaccuracies or gaps, and then actually address them by generating new content or reusing past conversations to improve the knowledge base. It will also be able to do this in multiple languages. We won't need to manually translate or maintain different versions ourselves. So a knowledge manager will need to be familiar with AI tools on the market in order to do this and basically keep up as these become our new industry standards in customer service. I see the role becoming more analytical. You'll have to interpret data from multiple content sources and make decisions based on the insights provided. Like, this content is not performing well. Do we actually need it? Or, okay, there are several content improvements that have been flagged here. Which one should I prioritize in line with our company objectives and targets? AI will even help us write the content and make sure it's optimized and readable for both large language models and humans. So things like templating and formatting for a consistent style will be done automatically. What I'm yet to see is AI taking a feature in production with just the bare lines of code and using that to explain how the feature works, how to use it, possible use cases and best practices, any limitations and workarounds to consider. This requires it testing and interpreting code in order to describe the actual output and then documenting it. This type of undocumented knowledge, if you like, is currently being fed to the AI manually. So with that in mind, understanding product functionality and being able to translate that into readable copy is still a very useful skill for knowledge managers to have.
What advice would you give to someone looking to pursue a career in knowledge management, especially in the AI-driven environment we're currently in? What skills or experiences should they focus on developing?
Yeah, I hear this question getting asked a lot at the moment across lots of different roles and industries. I think especially for our young people leaving school and wondering what further education or qualifications they might need in an AI world, I think we can only plan for what we know today and practice adaptability. Support orgs aren't going to need knowledge managers who sit quietly in the humdrum of tapping out another article. They'll need someone who's able to help drive a whole self-serve support operation. They'll want problem solvers and creative thinkers who not only ensure that AI is using the knowledge effectively and working as expected, but can offer new ways of evolving that knowledge base. So like the different sources you might want to make available using multimedia such as videos to cater for different audiences, and thinking about the right time and place to surface the knowledge for the best outcome. Is it during onboarding or when a customer first reaches out, or maybe a year later to help them on their journey and encourage deeper usage? How can you squeeze every bit of value out of that knowledge to drive better value for customers? And obviously, this role involves a lot of cross-functional collaboration, so a desire to work well with others and adapt to their timelines is important too. Basically, If you aren't afraid to make those sorts of decisions and want to offer genuinely good self-serve support, I'd say step up and go for it. I didn't start off thinking I'd be in this role today, but I find it extremely fulfilling, and it became a whole lot more exciting with AI.
Thanks so much for joining me today, Beth. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at intercom.com/blog/newsletter to stay updated with the latest trends in customer service and support. Make sure to check out our sister podcast, Intercom on Product, for insights into product design and development. You can find it on your preferred podcast platform or by visiting intercom.com/product podcast. You'll find all the links in the episode description. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time on The Ticket.